طرق وسطاه تاهوا فيها ناس، وطرق تبان مفروشة ورد وتنتهي بألم وضيق، لكن الطريق للفرحة وطريق الخلاص عند المسيح. أصل المسيح هو الحياة جوه الطريق. الطريق 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 الطريق
Well, we all remember the old story from when we were kids, the old Mary had a little lamb, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to follow. Well, wherever Islam goes, violence, not the lamb, violence is sure to follow. Everywhere on the news now that you look at global international news, what are you seeing but what did Muhammad do? By the way, on my YouTube is going through the charts. It's going really good, off the charts. Thousands of people are logging on. We're actually sharing our Facebook on General Sisi's Facebook page, on President Morsi's Facebook page. Is some big sheikh, Islamic sheikh with over 3 million followers. We're posting on that. It's having a lot of success. A lot of people, Muslims in particular, are coming to watch these shows. We record the whole show, post it up on Facebook. This will be the 8th show. It'll be posted tomorrow morning, put up on Facebook, and it's getting a lot of action from the Muslims are watching for the first time in their life. What did Muhammad do? Their prophet. And just like the Ikhwan Muslimin, the Muslim Brotherhood, everything they do, and ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant or Syria, everything that these guys do is all based on what did Muhammad do. So let us watch what Muhammad did. Clip number 18.
شبيح من يم الحرب لا تمر، من يم الحرب لا تمر. الموتى بطس، الموتى داس يا كلب، يعني داس مثل الصرصر. وين تفر؟ الحر صقر، الحر صقر ومزين الساحات، والحر سيف قصاص روس العصابات.
تأتيني فرصة أذكر لكم ذبح إحدى أحرار الشام مسكين في المستشفى، كان يعالج، والظاهر أنه تحت تأثير البنج أو ظن أنه في أيدي الرافضة أو أي ما كان، ما يعرف السبب. قال يا زينب يا حسين، فجوا قالوا هذا مشرك، ودخلوا عليه ذبحوه، قطعوا رأسه، مع أنه قال هذا منا يا جماعة، ورجل تحت البنج ويتألم ما يدري ما يقول، أخذوه بالقوة وقتلوه، قطعوا رأسه، وطلعوا فيديو يمدحون أنفسهم فيه، موجود، روحوا في اليوتيوب ترونه. فهذا مستمر، هذا آخر واحدة من البارحة، مش اليوم، البارحة الأربعاء، البارحة نعم. فهذا مستمر، ما شفنا موقف شديد. وين موقف شديد من القاعدة؟ ما شفنا، ولا شفنا حتى كلام شديد، ولا بيان معين، ولا يحزنوا. وهذه الأشياء موجودة في اليوتيوب، وهذه بالذات الواقعة هذه الأخيرة، وواقعات أخرى كثيرة اعترفت بها الجماعة. قتل ناس آخرين وعرضوا من يحضر القضاء، ثم قالوا لا ما نعترف بقاضيكم، قاضيكم ليس قاضي دولة، احنا قاضينا وقاضي الدولة، تحاكموا إلى قاضينا، وقاضيهم ليس محايدا، فرفض الجماعة الأخرى أن تحاكم.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with showing those pictures. I know it makes a lot of people upset. It's what Muhammad did. If you look at the number of times Muhammad beheaded people, it fills up the Quran like a bucket of blood. Mary had a little lamb, and everywhere that Mary would go, the lamb was sure to follow. Everywhere that Islam goes, violence is sure to follow. In fact, those videos there are in Arabic. If you like me, former Marine Corps officer, you want to really delve into this and get into the deep nitty-gritty and the root. Why are these people doing this? It's simple. What did Muhammad do? The American media is in a crazed frenzy to sanitize everything that Islam does of the normal nature of 1,400 years of Islam, following the playbook that all of the different Muslim groups have in common. Later on, you will hear in here clips that they're referring to, well, it's an Al-Qaeda related group. Baloney. Look, it's real simple. ISIS, Boko Haram, Abu Sayyaf, Mujahideen, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, they're all following the same rule book, and the rule book is what did Muhammad do, found in 22 verses of the Quran. Now, here's a guy working for Homeland Security, and frankly, it's very embarrassing listening to him. He is completely off the mark, has missed the target, thinking that only Al-Qaeda is the only nasty, murderous terrorist group out there. But Al-Qaeda and all the different groups, they're all operating decentralized, centralized only on one issue. What did Muhammad do? And seeing the beheaded man in that clip and the fellows with their face all bloody and beaten up, that's what is taught in every one of the Muslim Brotherhood-controlled mosques in the United States, which is well over 90% of the mosques in the United States, the UK, Canada, Western world, are all controlled by the same thought of ISIS and beheading these people. Okay, clip number 1.
Secretary Stockton, are we at war with violent Islamist extremism?
No, sir. We are at war with Al-Qaeda, its
Okay, I
affiliates
understand
and
that.
adherents.
My question is violent Islamist extremism at war with us?
No, sir. We are being attacked by Al-Qaeda and its allies.
Is Al-Qaeda, can it be described as being an exponent of violent Islamist extremism?
The Al-Qaeda are murderers with
No,
an
that's not my
ideological
question.
agenda.
That wasn't my question. My question was, is Al-Qaeda acting out violent Islamist extremism?
Al-Qaeda is a violent organization dedicated to overthrowing the values that we intend
So
to
is it
advance.
yes or no?
Can I hear the question again? I'll make it as clear as I can. We are not at war with Islam.
I didn't ask
And
that.
it is
I did not ask that, sir. I asked whether we're at war with violent Islamist extremism. That's my question.
No, we're at war with Al-Qaeda and its
So
affiliates.
Al-Qaeda, how does Al-Qaeda define itself? Are they dedicated to violent Islamist?
Islam for 1,400 years. What we call the radical Muslims, I don't call them that, but the people who have this bifurcation, false dichotomy of the radical Muslims and the moderate Muslims, it's real simple. You have the true followers of Muhammad. What did Muhammad do? That's what we saw in the first clip where they beheaded the guy and you saw the bloody faces. Then you have the moderate Muslims who are all actively behind the scenes, like a network behind the scenes, are webbing this weave of logistical support for the actual guys who go out there and cut off the heads and kill and do all this other stuff. Again, Mary had a little lamb, and wherever Mary would go, the lamb was sure to follow. Wherever Islam goes, it's sure to follow, because at least, I've been saying in the past, being conservative and being overly conscientious about this. I'm not. I'm just going to hit point blank. At least 15 to 25% of the Ummah, the body of believers of Islam globally, the 1.4 billion believers, at least 15% to 25% are doing and believe and acting out the same way as all of the different Muslim terrorist groups, and they all get their directions from the Quran, 22 verses in the Quran. What did Muhammad do? People ask me all the time, have you ever read the Quran? Here's my copy of the Quran. You can see that it's all dogged and earmarked and everything else. Yes, I've read the Quran many, many times. I use it frequently. Okay. Everywhere that Islam goes globally, it doesn't matter if it's Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Mujahideen, Boko Haram, Abu Sayyaf, the Uyghurs. We're going to show all these guys. They all come back to what did Muhammad do? I do not sound like a broken record. One of the key tenets of leadership, as Winston Churchill did in anticipation of World War II, was to continually expose the truth, pull back the veil of lies protecting Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich as they prepared their own network, which is very, very small, very, very small. There was only about 80 million Germans at that time. There's 1.4 billion Muslims throughout the world. Yes, many of them do not understand the Quran, but all of them understand the very violent nature of the 15 to 25%. Just like the mafia with the Godfather and the soldiers, the rest of the Italian community is terrified, and through their silence, silence is consent, qui tacit consentire videtur, they aid and abet the Black Widow Godfather at the top. Let us give you an example. This next clip is about the Buddhists in Myanmar, the old Burma, and how the Buddhist monks have gone and given up on being passive and are actually aggressively going out, locating, closing with, and destroying the Muslims who have been attacking them more and more vociferously in the near future. And so you're seeing the normal response. It's not revenge, it's self-defense. It's self-defense. It's not revenge, it's self-defense. There's a total difference. Revenge, self-defense, totally different. Non habet legem is the Latin for self-defense knows no law. Watch and listen how the media skews these gentlemen who are training the other Buddhists to protect themselves and says they're Islamophobic. The media is our own worst enemy, censoring and sanitizing, covering up the evil, wicked deeds done in the darkness and then covered up by the media, including Fox News. Fox News, to a certain degree, is just as guilty. So clip number 9. Clip number 9.
Burma is famous for being a crossroads of cultures, a place where Buddhists, Christians, Hindus and Muslims have coexisted for centuries. But in the past year, much of that peace has given way to violence. Buddhists and Muslims have been pitted against each other in bloody and often deadly battles. To many, the fighting has seemed sudden and unexpected, a throwback to violence under the military junta that ruled Burma for nearly 50 years. But one group has been pushing for violence against Muslims for months, a new breed of militant Buddhist monks. Wirathu, known as the Burmese Bin Laden, is their leader. Wirathu shares his extreme views on Islam through social media, where he is popular on Facebook. His speeches have been watched thousands of times on YouTube, and his DVDs and leaflets distributed through much of the country. His Islamophobia has even carried over into the monastery, where he and fellow monks advise against doing business with or marrying Muslims. Last month, over 40 people were killed in Mektela after fighting between Buddhists and Muslims broke out. Shops were destroyed and homes and mosques burnt to the ground. Nearly 13,000 people were forced to flee, most of them Muslim.
All right, so that was in Myanmar, the old Burma, but it's all over Asia. So we're going to go back to China Back to China right now. So everything in common, violence. Where does this violence come from? Why do these people want to behead? Why do these people want to attack? Why do these people want to kill? Why do these people want to rape? Well, it's simple. It's all right there in the Quran, 22 verses in the Quran. I publish this all the time, probably 4 or 5 times a week. I probably have, with all of the different groups that I belong to, I have at least 1 million people on Facebook, maybe as many as 5 million. And with the news, with the Muslims being the best teacher of all, it's not me. Thank God for the Way TV. We're doing a great job. And we have pulled back the veil of the Antichrist, thinking of the Muslim Brotherhood, of ISIS, of the Boko Haram. We have pulled back the veil, and we have reached a number of these aggressive Muslim groups like Boko Haram, ISIS, the Uyghurs in China and whatnot. And I believe that they are starting to react more and more violently, which is their nature. And we're not going to back off, because the best teacher of what did Muhammad do are the terrorist, violent Muslim groups globally. And there's many of them in the United States, in the UK, in France, and Belgium, and Canada, and Mexico, all over the world. All right, so clip number 10. Clip number 10.
A show of force by China's military taking charge of security just days after ethnic violence boiled over the streets of Xinjiang's capital city, Urumqi. Chinese troops have poured into the region, some heavily armed. Though the unrest has been brought under control, tensions remain high. These Han Chinese carry sticks, they say, to guard against violent attacks. On the other side of town, nervous Uyghur residents padlock their homes. Ethnic tensions run deep in the region, with minority groups complaining that they are subjected to discrimination by the majority Han Chinese. That tension now at boiling point. It's a bit better now, says this Uyghur woman. They are here to protect us. This is the Great Bazaar area.
Now, it's interesting, wherever the violence happens, the people who initiate the violence are those who follow the Quran and did what Muhammad do. And so consider, you're in your neighborhood, and all of a sudden, people start coming into your neighborhood, grabbing the girls, beating the girls, raping the girls, and you go to the police or whomever you can, and nothing happens to protect you, then non abet legem, self-defense knows no law, from the ancient law of nations, which is part of our Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10, the law of nations. And so it is the duty of every person to prevent rape and prevent murder. It is the duty. For example, in the Bible it says in 1 Timothy 5:8, a man who does not take care of his family is not a believer. So if you are a man and your family is being beaten, bruised, and raped, and you're not defending them, perhaps you should take a look at your interpretation of theology. A good place to start would be Romans 13:4, which is my calling as the minister of God with a sword. Or go back into the Old Testament in 2 Kings 11 and see how the direct line of Jesus was protected through self-defense. Okay, again, Mary had a little lamb, and wherever Mary went, the lamb was sure to follow. Wherever the body of believers, the Ummah, the Muslims go, 15% to 25% of these violent people go with them. So, if you have 100 of these folks in your community, statistically, 15 to 25 of them want to rape and murder and pillage and kill. My friends here at the studio are from the Middle East, and they will all verify this. They have told me all their stories. Clip number 11, back to the Uyghurs in China, 11.
Well, this looks to be probably one of the more violent episodes, definitely in Xinjiang province in many, many years, and definitely in all of China in many years, apart from the unrest in Tibet that happened in 2007 and then 2008. There's been a long historical tension between the Han Chinese, who are the majority, obviously, of China, and the minority Uyghurs. particularly in Xinjiang province, which is of great strategic importance to China. Not only does it have a lot of natural resources, including oil, it's also a very important.
Yeah, you can see I cut there perfect. Good job, Adam. Adam is a genius. Adam is a genius. He got the map in there. Adam is a genius. By the way, Adam is single, and ladies, if you're really rich, he's interested. No? No. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get poor Adam married off. Okay. It would be a good thing. All right. Our next clip that we're showing is very interesting because it happens in Iraq, but it's a British girl married to a Muslim, a Swedish Muslim, who's there helping ISIS kill people. So again, you have this international body of soldiers for Muhammad. What did Muhammad do? From all over the globe, every language you can think of, and what do they automatically do? Well, they go and they attack and kill and rape and brutalize and murder. By the way, I cut that clip a little bit short on the Buddhists there, but a few seconds longer. It points out that the Muslims there in Myanmar, the old Burma, are funded by the Saudi Arabians. The Saudi Arabians fund the Muslim Brotherhood. The Saudi Arabians fund 100% of the Muslim Brotherhood mosques in the United States. And the Saudi Arabians are like the giant black widow with this network globally all over the world. Okay, so clip number 15. Clip number 15.
Now, we have tonight an exclusive report on how British women have started signing up for jihad in Syria. And this is the first evidence that women have been going to Syria to fight for rebel forces and indeed to support the men, many of whom they've never met before, and even marry them and have their children. Now, Kylie Morris has this exclusive report.
I'm not oppressed. If I was oppressed, I wouldn't be a Muslim right now. If I thought Islam was an oppressive religion, I would have left Islam. Islam has made me free.
She's a poster girl for the jihad. This young British woman has traded life in London for a supporting role in the war in Syria. She's a fighter by marriage, newlywed to a jihadi from Sweden.
Alhamdulillah, I couldn't find anyone in UK that was, willing to just sacrifice their life in this world for the life in the hereafter, for best in the hereafter, in fact. So alhamdulillah, I pray my istikhara and Allah willed that I came here to marry Abu Bakr.
Here is within sight of the front line in rural Aleppo province, in an abandoned house they share with the child they're raising.
What happened?
Mariam, not her real name, says she'd fight if she could, but that's not her role. She says she's a mujahid's wife, supporting her husband and showing solidarity with their cause. He describes for the camera battles fought by the Sunni jihadi militia known as Katiba al-Muhajirin, the battalion of migrants.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I've been put in 5 battles before. There was the prison, and then
the man they call Abu Bakr lists operations. It's an active fighting force. They fight alongside bigger Islamic groups, such as Ahrar al-Sham and the al-Qaeda-affiliated Jabhat al-Nusra.
It was a great victory, alhamdulillah. We got many shahada, but it was a great victory, alhamdulillah.
So red and yellow, black and white, come on, it's Islam, jihad, fight, fight, fight. It's a little bit different from what we sing in Christianity, red and yellow, black and white, Jesus loves them, Very interesting. And again, I started off showing how Homeland Security leader thinks there's only one group called Al-Qaeda. And I think I've demonstrated with just a few clips how dangerous this stuff really is. Now, if you want to watch these clips, you can't watch the violent ones, like the first one where the guy's head was cut off and the bloody faces. Most of them you cannot watch in English. It's very interesting. YouTube, Google, they will sanitize and they will scrub in any of the English clips that are shown. For example, I tried showing a few on Facebook and they were scrubbed in, I think, less than 90 seconds. bam, they just went right through them. However, you can go online and you can find the Arabic word for ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. You can go online and find that. Just go online. I did it. It's real simple. Go to Wikipedia. Just go type, go to Google, whatever, Yahoo. Type in ISIS, ISIS, and then Wikipedia. It'll come up like that. Very good article. It's a very accurate article. The fourth line down from the top says Arabic acronym for Daesh. Daesh is the Arabic for ISIS, Daesh. And then they show the Arabic script. Now you're going to copy it from the opposite direction, different from when you do English. It might take you a time or two to figure out, oh, just go in the opposite direction. Copy it, go to YouTube, and put in ISIS, that Arabic word there, Daesh, put that in the title block for YouTube and hit enter, and you will be stunned at the hundreds and hundreds of videos that come up, and they are graphic. I watched one a couple of days ago where they were beheading a woman. It still bothers me that I saw it. However, a good medical doctor wants to know the worst that his patient has so that he can cure his patient. And in developing proper intelligence, we want to also find the same thing. So I've been showing a lot of pretty nasty clips here. And perhaps we'll take a different point of view and then come back and tie them all together to what did Muhammad do. And we'll go to clip number 4. Clip number 4.
مش قادر يا ماما مش قادر.
طب انا ايش اعمل؟ لك شعر طويل وانت عيان، ورحنا عرضناك على العريش وما طلعش بدنا نمرقك على مصر تعمل العمليه.
يا ماما في اطفال فلسطين وهم بيموتوا من غير دواء. مش قادر بديش اموت.
باسمكم أنتم أحبابنا الأطفال، اليوم نرحب بالشخصية الجديدة وصديقنا الجديد، صديقنا السود. أحبابنا الأطفال، فصديقنا السود عاد إلى بلاده سالما غانما والحمد لله هنا إلى بلاده فلسطين بعد أن كان مهجرا في دولة عربية أخرى غير هذا الوطن الشريف. أحبابنا الأطفال،
يا ماما بدي أقول لك حاجة. قول يا أمي. وين نحول؟ زمان أنا ما شفته. واصل مشوار وعده أجا، وصل مشوار وعده أجا إن شاء الله. بتأخرش. وصل في الليل هيك مشاوير كيف بتطلعين؟ ما أنت شايفة الوضع. ما إيش بدي أنا أعمل؟ عده بيجي إن شاء الله. بابا. نعم يا بابا. وين نحول؟
احنا بنكتشف من الله نخبر على نحول. يا بابا. أنت إنسان مؤمن وربنا سبحانه وتعالى. الحمد لله انت انسان مؤمن يابا، انت انسان مؤمن يابا، انسان مسلم الحمد لله رب العالمين، وهذا كرم من الله سبحانه وتعالى. اخوك نحول عيه ومرض يعني وعيه عيه. يا بابا في المستشفى، انا في المستشفى يا بابا. لا مش في المستشفى والله يابا، ما هو في المستشفى. نحول ربنا سبحانه وتعالى استشهد نحول. لا يا بابا والله استشهد يابا نحول. الله يرحمه الله يرحمه الله يرحمه.
So one of the bases of common law, the law that we hold in common, which is always based on some form of religion. We've gone over that before. Maybe we should go over it right now, but it's always religion. For example, the practical application of our deepest held and most cherished beliefs, the practical application of our deepest held and most cherished beliefs are known as politics or government, which, of course, our deepest held and most cherished beliefs are religion. Based on essence, what's the essence, sine qua non, what's the DNA of this thing, what's the behavior of it. You walk, a kid walks into the house, mom's got her back to the kid says, Mom, can I kill this thing? Mom thinks, thing, essence, sine qua non. Oh, what's the essence, what's the of the religion, what's the of that thing you have? If it's a puppy, be nice to it. If it's a black widow, kill it. And ligion means the tie that binds, religion, the essence of that which the tie that binds. And what's happening in that cartoon right there is passing along the education of what did Muhammad do, what's a good Muslim do, and pointing out that a good Muslim will kill a Jew or a Christian. That's in the Quran about 50 bazillion times also. We also know that in this essence of creating the common law so that we can all make laws and we can live, for example, in the West under the highest degree of peace, order, liberty, and prosperity. If you compare the overarching purpose of education in the West to the overarching purpose of education under Islam, which we just saw, here's what happens. The overarching purpose of education in the West is to send every child to a school so that they can learn, they can have transmitted to them the wisdom of their ancestors so that all children can live together and live under the highest degree of peace, order, liberty, and prosperity. Under Islam, the overarching purpose of education is not to send every child to school. No, it's to send boys only. So under Islam, the overarching purpose of education in Islam is to send boys only to a madrasa, a Muslim school, to beat them into memorizing the Quran, thereby turning them into little Muhammads and sending them out through dawah, evangelization for Islam, through the whole world with the whole goal of making the entire globe as 7th century Arabia under the leadership of Muhammad, thereby creating the highest degree of hostility, disorder, slavery, poverty, and misogyny, the hate and the distrust of women. And that's easily provable. And again, that goes back to that little saying, that little ditty we all knew in the West, Mary had a little lamb, and everywhere that Mary would go, the lamb was sure to follow. Under the Ummah, the body of believers, wherever Islam goes, 15 to 25% of the people are violent. And the only thing that you can do is respond in self-defense, which is violent. Under Christian military, properly done, which I happen to be an officer in the United States military, active, a lot of combat in Vietnam, we are restrained so that we can't murder, we can't rape, self-defense. Of course, we make mistakes, but every time we're in a firefight, it goes to an after-action report or tribunal, and then people, if they do things above and beyond, outside of the scope of the law, then justice prevails. Under Islam, that's not done. Under Islam, you saw, they behead the guy, got the picture up there, holding the head up there, and they're talking about all that. Wherever Islam goes, you will always find 15 to 25% of the Muslims will be engaged in war. We proved that over and over again on this show with clips about France. In fact, we find out that in France they were going to try to blow up the Eiffel Tower just the other day, and that's how Islam works. The Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, one of the reasons, thank God, that General Sisi had to take over is because the Muslim Brotherhood wanted to blow up the pyramids and the Sphinx and destroy the museums. And I know when I tell people that, they laugh. They're so stunned they can't believe it, especially because we've been lied to by our politicians, Democrats and Republicans, that Islam is a religion of peace. Nothing could be further from the truth. Here's some more about how common law is taught, the Islamic common law is taught to children. Now, I know a lot of people are not convinced that religion is the basis of every common law, but I would ask you, as a good scientist, good science is observable, measurable, and repeatable. Just look at the flags of the nations throughout the world and look at the empirical evidence. If you look at the 57 countries of Islam, you will see almost every one of their flags has Islam somewhere, the crescent moon, or like Egypt, they have the eagle of Saladan, and in Turkey, they've got the crescent moon and the star. Everywhere you look, if it's not in the flag, it'll be in the constitution of the 57 countries of Islam. All but 4 have Islam as the basis of the constitution. Syria, Malaya, Indonesia, and Turkey do not. However, the Muslim Brotherhood, the groups that are all doing what Muhammad did, are infiltrating Turkey, Syria, Malaya, and Indonesia rapidly, and that's what ISIS is all about. And you're seeing much more violence in those countries, and you're starting to see burqas and veils on a much more common everyday interaction throughout those 4 countries. Then if you go to the constitutions of the 57 countries that are Islamic countries, you will see that Islam is the basis of all of those constitutions. And then you have, for example, in Afghanistan, the national anthem is Allah Akbar, which is what ISIS and all of the different 15% to 25% of terrorists making up the Ummah, the body of believers, what they yell when they cut off somebody's head, they suicide bomb, they kill somebody or something like that. And on the flag of Iraq, while you don't see anything directly, that's a symbol of Islam. The Arabic on that flag says Allah Akbar. So, if you look at all the flags of ancient Europe, not so ancient, you'll see crosses on almost all of the flags. In fact, they used to call Europe, Christendom, the domain of Christ, and we've gone over that before. Again, and in our military, while our American flag certainly doesn't have any Christian symbols in it, in our military, which is there to defend us from people, non-abet legem, self-defense knows no law, you will see that many of our medals that we award to our military folks for bravery have a cross as a symbol in there. And certainly we can see that our military behaves differently than the terrorists, and it's easy to prove again. Back in the Iraq-Iran war of years ago, when the soldiers were slaughtering and killing each other, they never grabbed a woman or a child to use them as a human shield because they knew that the other miscreant, the other Muslim warrior, would merely shoot the woman or the kid and kill the soldier. As soon as we went, UK and the United States went over to Iraq and Afghanistan, the Muslims began using women and children as human shields, again, pointing out that our deepest held and most cherished beliefs are our common law and how we behave and how we treat people. In India, they have the Hindu wheel, and that's part of karma and things of that nature too. Clip number 13, I need a little comedy here. Clip number 13, I think you'll enjoy this.
This is message again to Obama. Please listen to me. Very good, Obama. We are Egyptian women.
What the heck was that? What's going on there?
Please, Obama, I wanted to see you.
Who in the world was that?
Why? Why did you, Obama?
Why, oh, why, oh, why?
Why did you interview in X-Factor in Egypt?
What a day. Are you crazy?
In X-Factor in Egypt belong to Egyptian only.
Oh, no.
The brothers Zuhud are big liars. The brother Zuhud is Egyptian woman.
Oh, brother.
Nobody believes a liar. The brother Zuhud is a big liar. And Muhammad Morsi is Egyptian woman.
Oh, brother. How did that happen?
Please, Obama. Enough. Stop, Obama. Shut up your mouth, Obama.
Why me?
Shut up your mouth, Obama. And we are Egyptian women. See you too. We are not anything helps Egyptian woman.
That's pretty funny. They kicked out Mubarak. They brought in the Muslim Brotherhood, came in through violence, murder, everything that they did. The Muslim Brotherhood is the quintessence. They are the sine qua non. They are the 15 to 25% of the violent people that make up the Ummah, the body of believers. And so what happened, thank goodness, the army was still strong enough under General Sisi that they were able to reorganize and regain a sense. This is hard for most Westerners to believe, but they came in and they actually established a lot more liberty and freedoms under the military leadership of General Sisi than the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood are fanatic, crazy people who rape and murder for fun. That's what they do. They follow what did Muhammad do. General Sisi came in and with a spirit of getting along, and the golden rule to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself has reestablished a lot more peace in Egypt. Now, it's true the Muslim Brotherhood are still running around and causing a lot of problems, but it's a lot better than it was. And it's interesting, the mainstream media, even Fox News and the politicians in the United States keep talking about the Arab Spring and talking about democracy, but the Arab Spring was the caliphate being led by the Muslim Brotherhood, the Ikhwan Muslimin, the guys who adhere to ISIS, Boko Haram, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, the guys who are operating and controlling all of the Muslim Brotherhood mosques in the United States, Corona, Los Angeles, San Diego, Dallas, New York, New Hampshire, even in Utah. I've been to the Khadijah Mosque in Utah. I've been there. I've seen it. I've photographed the leaders of the Khadijah Mosque in Salt Lake City, and they're all Muslim Brotherhood. Democracy can never work under the leadership of the 15% to 25% of the violent leaders of Islam doing what did Muhammad do. They can't do that because they don't allow a First Amendment. They don't allow freedom of speech. They don't allow freedom of religion. They don't allow freedom of the press, and they don't allow the people to peaceably assemble to petition the government for redress of grievances. They don't allow for majority rules but minority rights. When Dred Scott, the Supreme Court, decided in 1857 that black people in America were legal non-persons and could be chattel property and could be hung and their families broken up and destroyed, it was the majority rules but minority rights, and the minority rights based on the law of nations, which is the law written on the heart, which is the 10 Commandments found in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10 of the U.S. Constitution. So under self-defense, the black people were fleeing the South, helped out to get by the Underground Railroad to the north, and then the Supreme Court stepped in with their unlawful use of the law, their immorality, stating that black people could be slaves. And therefore, under the dictum of majority rules but minority rights, we went to war against our own brothers and sisters in the United States, and we indeed did free the slaves. Now, that has never happened under any Islamic country. In fact, in Islam today, they still have slaves, and we've had a number of people arrested, Saudi Arabians, following what did Muhammad do, who had slaves in the United States. So this common law flows from this religion, and democracy cannot operate when Islam is in control. The most liberal form of democracy that you can have is watching General Sisi right now, whom I applaud, and I thank General Sisi as a benevolent leader. In the West, in political science, we would say a benevolent dictator. However, under his rule and suppressing the violence and the raping and the beating and the killing and the desire to blow up the Eiffel Tower and the pyramids and the Sphinx and the museums, and to kill the people who run the stores and the shops and the bazaars there in Egypt, when Sisi came in, he began to immediately restore the liberties and the freedoms that the Egyptian people have. Now, Obama actively aids and abets the Muslim Brotherhood, and Obama was trying to get the Muslim Brotherhood back into force and trying to get them in control back again in Egypt. And so that lady, in that very prescient and extremely well done satire, did a great job of exposing the follies of Obama. Now, that cartoon is very, very popular in Egypt. I happen to like it. Hardly anybody in the West knows about it. It's under Egyptoons, T-O-O-N-S, and you can find it on YouTube. It's very, very well done. Very well done. Clip number 16. Clip number 16.
Do you think Omar's evil?
I mean, you know, I don't think he's like an innately super evil person. You know, has he done things that are really bad? Probably.
Most Americans are shocked by the idea of one of their own committing an act of terrorism. But from the shooting at Fort Hood to the attempted bombing in Times Square, homegrown terror is on the rise, both on our own shores and abroad, where a growing number of Westerners are answering the call of Islamic extremists. In the summer of 2006, I traveled to the failed state of Somalia to document how an Islamic coalition had brought a measure of peace to the country after 15 years of chaotic fighting.
These are some of the first flights landing here in 15 years. Everyone's coming back to their homeland. It's incredible.
I thought I was the only American in town. But little did I know that among those who would soon arrive at the airport was another American. A young man perhaps not so different from myself, but who was there, in fact, for very different reasons. 4 years later, I've gone in search of that man, to find out who he was and where he came from.
We just arrived in Daphne.
He goes on to say he's from Georgia and he was raised as a Baptist and whatnot. But once again, we're coming back to that common law, that education system. That we're showing those funny cartoons that seem so silly with the rabbits and the animals and the little kids up there talking and doing all that stuff. But it all comes back to the basis of ethics. The big word is axiology, the science of ethics. And the science of ethics is real simple. It flows from our deepest held and most cherished beliefs. Again, the practical application of our deepest held and most cherished beliefs is known as politics or government. And of course, our deepest held and most cherished beliefs are known as religion. Re from thing, the essence, sine qua non, and ligion, the tie that binds, the basis of why do people do what they do. Why is it that most Christians, even if they become atheists, still operate under do unto others as you would have done unto you? Or the negative, do not unto others as you would not have done unto yourself. Leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. But under Islam, it comes down to always what did Muhammad do? So the Americans going over to Somalia to become violent. The man from Sweden marrying the girl from the UK to be violent. The people in Myanmar, the Buddhists, become violent because it's self-defense, non abet legem, self-defense knows no law. They're protecting their families. And under Islam, the only way you can protect yourselves is self-defense, which by its nature is violent. Lady Justice holds a sword in her hand because justice, law without the potential of violence is not law. It is a suggestion. Think of Nehemiah in the book of Nehemiah. When he's standing there with a sword and all the people have been organized, the Jews have been organized as a military unit. Boys, girls, men, women, signals, weapons, building the wall, defense, recon, getting permission from the king, reconning and having the cavalry come and protect them as they set up. And who does Nehemiah stand before and talk, telling them, you cannot come inside the walls of Jerusalem? We know it's Tobias and Sanballat, but believe it or not, the Arabians are there too. You can look it up. It's in 2 verses in the book of Nehemiah. Very fascinating. And of course, who is the father of the Arabians, the father of Islam, but Ishmael? Genesis 16, 11, and 12. A wild man, a donkey of a man who's at war against everyone, and everyone is at war against him. And the prophecy continues globally today. The basis of common law is religion. The thing, the essence, the sine qua non, and legion, the tie that binds. The practical application of our deepest held and most cherished beliefs is known as politics or religion, and therefore religion does precede and is superior to and is the basis of every common law. Now we see in Iraq where ISIS has won in Mosul, and what are they doing? They're fighting each other, Alpha Dog, which is the history of Islam for 1,400 years. As soon as a leader raises up, another one raises up, and they start to fight each other. We see that, thank goodness, thank God, in Egypt, where General Sisi was able, through the military, to rise up and to box in, hem in, arrest the Muslim Brotherhood. Clip number 17.
Dio Sisi, Al-Shabaab, Dio Sisi, Al-Shabaab, Dio Sisi, terrorist, Dio Sisi, terrorist, Dio Sisi, Al-Qaeda, Dio Sisi, Al-Qaeda, Dio Sisi.
In a secret location deep in the Somali bush, I meet Al-Shabaab, one of the most feared Al-Qaeda affiliated organizations. This is the jihadist group behind the attack at the Westgate shopping mall in Kenya 2 months ago that left 67 people dead. This is the face they want the world to see. This is the Al-Shabaab class of 2013. Around 300 newly trained fighters have completed a 6-month course, the same military training as the Westgate attackers. Al-Shabaab have given me exclusive access to film their graduation ceremony. Today, they are rewarded with a visit from Al-Shabaab's spokesman, Sheikh Ali Dere. He is the public face of the group and the only one willing to show his face on camera.
يعني waxa waaye dulligaas iyo haweenkaas adduunyo jacaylku keenay waxaan uga bixi karnaa diinteena u laabano oo ah jihaad iyo icdaad.
في سبيل ديننا لا يروعنا الفناء
There are young Muslims from all over the world, Arabs, Kenyans, and even I was told a small number from Britain. I tried, but I wasn't allowed to speak to them.
So right there, they showed religion's the basis of their common law. And where are they from? From all over the world. And what do? They base their murderous, thug, rape, killings, kidnapping the girls, Boko Haram, on one word: Islam, their religion. Islam is simple. The 5 true pillars of Islam are simple. It's not the 4 fingers of the Ikhwan Muslimin. It's not the 4 fingers of the Muslim Brotherhood. It's real simple. If you want to understand Islam, open your Quran, which I have here. Find the 22 verses, which I post all the time on Facebook. You can see me, Steve Klein, K-L-E-I-N. And I post that all the time, the 22 verses. And it boils down, the true de facto 5 pillars of Islam are: what did Muhammad do? 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 He was violent, 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 violent. And wherever you see Islam goes, 15 to 25%, 15% of the 1.4 billion Muslims globally is 210 million people. Germany in World War II was only 80 million. In the United States Marine Corps, one of the most violent organizations in the history of the world, are less than 200,000. Now, listen to the media, and diplomats get it all wrong. They've got it all wrong, and no wonder we're in so much trouble. Clip number 8, and we'll be done. Clip number 8.
In addition to last week's church bombing in Pakistan, Christians have also been targeted recently in Egypt and at last week's mall attack in Kenya. Is this merely a coincidence, or is there a wider trend? To explore that, I'm joined by U.S. Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom, Susan Johnson Cook. Welcome, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be with you. Thank you.
We saw what Fred wrote about, or broadcast just now, just about Pakistan. Is this something which is a worldwide problem?
Well, it is a worldwide problem. You know, as Ambassador for International Religious Freedom, my portfolio is 199 countries of the world. And so we see it frequently. First, though, I want to send my condolences to those who were the victims of the attack, those who lost loved ones. We certainly want to send our condolences and sympathy. It's not just recent. It's been throughout the world and throughout history, and it opens up the whole conversation of religious freedom. We have it in our Constitution that we have the right to believe what and when we believe, when we want to believe, how we want to express that, but in many parts of the world that is not true. So we hear stories of people being persecuted, even killed, for their right to believe. And so what you saw is something not recent in Pakistan in terms of what's hitting the news, but it's ongoing in many countries in the world.
And is it just about Christians who are targeted, or are other religions targeted as well?
Many religions are targeted as well. Religious minorities all over the world, and part of my portfolio is to protect religious minorities and urge governments to protect religious minorities where they are, to also hold perpetrators accountable for their crimes, and also to promote respect for different faiths.
How do you do that, especially if you look like you're maybe someone imposing U.S. values in other parts of the world?
Well, we certainly don't go to impose, but there is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and we make sure that the standards that of international agreements are adhered to. So it's not about imposing United States standards, but adhering to the international standards. So part of it is we use all the diplomatic tools that are available to us. Diplomacy, where I visited now 26 nations of the world. We use public diplomacy, where I talk here around the country about issues of religious freedom. And we have an annual religious freedom report that comes out, and it shows the trends of all 199 countries each year.
Well, let me ask you, you have a term of art which is called countries of particular concern, but nowhere on that list is Pakistan or...
Okay, very interesting. This is how they think. Now remember, we started with the first clip where that gentleman from Homeland Security said only Al-Qaeda is this murderous thug group. Then we go through all the clips and we find out, wait a minute, it's not just Al-Qaeda, it's 15 to 25% of the Ummah, of the body of believers. Then this lady comes in, very sweet, nice lady, I like her. And she says, well, this is very interesting. Of the 199 countries, this is all global and historical. Well, it's global and historical because it's like Mary had a little lamb, and wherever Mary went, the lamb was sure to follow. Islam, wherever Islam goes, violence, 15 to 25% of the Muslims are sure to get violent. We showed that clip after clip after clip. This is good science. Good science is observable, measurable, repeatable. We can go through the historical observation, the measurement, and the repeating time and time again. Wherever Islam becomes the controlling agent of a country, the common law, the practical application of our deepest held and most cherished beliefs is known as government, common law, politics, and of course our deepest held and most cherished beliefs are known as religion. The thing, the essence, Ligion, the tie that binds, and we know wherever Islam goes, they do what Muhammad did, and what Muhammad did was to murder, to rape, to beat, to lie, to cheat, and for this very dear, sweet lady to suggest that we don't need self-defense, that we don't need to follow Romans 13:4 and use the sword judiciously in accordance with our deepest held and most cherished beliefs, the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, or the opposite of it, the negative of it. Do not unto others as you would not have done unto yourself. And for this dear sweet lady to suggest we can use diplomacy and perhaps sue and these Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda and Mujahideen, ISIS, that they're going to become good little boys and stop, that we can use diplomacy to stop this when the 199 countries of the world today and the history of Islam all point out to us time and time again that the very DNA, the very sine qua non, the very basis, essence, thing, the re of Islam is what did Muhammad do? Stay tuned. You're going to see a hell of a lot more violence over the next 50 years. Yours truly is more than able and capable of doing a self-defense properly, legally, in accordance with the Anglo-American common law based on the 10 Commandments. It's real simple. Until next week, adieu.
في كتير طرق وسط الحياة تاهوا فيها ناس وطرق تبان مفروشة ورد وتنتهي بألم وضيق لكن الطريق للفرحة وطريق الخلاص عند المسيح أصل المسيح